Hey.
What's up?
All right, just testing out my new rig, playing some League. What's up, man?
Trying to get started when you're on.
Right.
I got you. Yes!
All right, man, I gotta take off. I'll talk to you later.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Dreamhack Winter 2013. This is the League of Legends tournament sponsored by Plantronics. We are in the final game of Group B. That's Property versus Tricked Esports. Both of them had very, very difficult games, but I think now is the time to decide the better team of the two who did fall to KTM. KMT, excuse me there. It's a Polish team name, so we just have to go to the letters here. We don't have a lot of options. I can't say the full team name. Just can't pronounce it.
They tried that once before. Swedish names.
Huimen. I will never forget that. The 7 Salty Sailors. But they're not playing this year. Maybe they're in the BYOC.
I wouldn't put it past them. I'm expecting some quirky names to come out of BYOC again, yes. But KMT, we'll stick to KMT.
KMT, yes. Those guys. But yeah, like I said, we have Tricked Esports and we have Property going up against each other. I mean, of the two, considering their performances against KMT, who do you think has the advantage?
That's a tough one because they both got beaten pretty handedly, honestly, in their first games. We did see a bit of a strange composition coming up from Team Property with Karma and Yorick. I don't think we'll see that again, to be honest, against who they're going to be up against now. I just can't really picture how Tricked are going to come ahead in this game. I think overall, they're the underdogs in this matchup, but maybe not by so much.
Honestly, I guess to just disagree slightly. I think this is Property's game to lose, in all fairness. They are the more established, more experienced team here. They've got more results under their belt. Yes, they've not had the greatest of runs in the spring promotion tournaments recently, but they've been up there in the group stage at the top of the semi-finals, and they've been making their mark. Tricked haven't really even got into the spring promotion qualifiers. They're a little bit down on it. Now, I'm not going to write them off completely. They had some moments in that last game. They had some shining lights, but couldn't quite pull it out. I mean, KMT going to make it tough for them. But Property by no means playing perfectly. KMT were making very few mistakes. Property made a few more, hence why they lost. So if Tricked can spot these mistakes and capitalize on them, they are by no means written off. They could easily do this. But providing both teams play to the best of their ability, as I've seen in the past, Property just seem to have that edge.
Property does have also the home team advantage, let's not forget. I did think all of them were Swedish. Turns out they do have one Finn on the team, but we'll accept it. And looks like both teams are ready, so let's head down and check out the two games. First up, we have Team Property. Here is Nikwa, the support. Sitting next to him, we have Infinity, the AD carry. Of course, next is Huberto at mid, looking very serious and focused. Fizzin next on jungle. And rounding out the team, we have, of course, Zyres, who we spoke to before. He's looking focused. He looks ready to win.
That was a concentration phase, that was.
It was, but on the flip side, we are going to have Tricked Esports. First up, going to be the AD carry of Chrisland. Coming up next, it's going to be his dual lane partner, Nisbeth, as support.
Or Chrisland again.
Or Chrisland. They have managed to clone their AD
Give a cute
carry.
little smile, now a serious nod.
Next up, in mid, is going to be Zivik. We saw him on Ziggs last time, but can he go one better?
Instead, we're seeing Trashy.
Oh, that might be trashy.
It seems we may be slightly behind on the players, but
this is our last player, so this is the last
It's okay,
one.
we know Doris sits on the end.
The last one is Doris, the top laner.
That one's definitely right.
It is.
Oh dear. Oh well. A little bit technical.
It's okay, they've got 2 AD carries. They've already got this in the bag.
280 carries is very strong. Wait 40 minutes, 45 minutes, easy win, completely
I've
free.
been practicing on One for All. I'm ready for that.
I love that game mode, I must admit, but it's going to leave. I haven't told them ready. They're mind readers.
They're all set to go. Well, I'm going to hand this game over to Panky and Metas.
Thank you very much, again, Rachel.
I'm going to say it right.
one
You
day
just
we'll get
did.
there.
There you
Did
go.
it? Oh, I got it. Nailed it.
Nice.
So, straight in. Tricked versus Property. Property, first ban, Italy. Get rid of it, straight off the bat. Not willing to put up with that again. They had a bit of an issue with it before.
Yeah.
And we did see very well played by KMT. It's not something I really thought was in Trick's roster. Not something I really thought is a priority ban, especially considering some of the interesting champs they pulled out in their last game. I'd like to see a Ziggs ban instead, perhaps. But, I mean, maybe there's something hidden in there they don't know. Maybe it's a strategy that Property specifically want to avoid that involves Nidalee. But so far, Trick's banning at that, Cass is in that at least. Those two we saw in the first 2 games were gone.
Yeah.
Those champions, very high priority for all these teams. First Fiddlesticks ban of the day, but we did see him played in the initial game, and he is a very powerful support. We mentioned his crowd control is incredibly long with the silence and the fear chained together, incredibly powerful and horribly devastating. And in those early levels, that Crow Storm, when its base numbers are enough to cause an issue, then he can really mess with some fights as well. There is that Ziggs ban from Property, that last one, they're holding it there, making sure Zivith didn't play that. We mentioned before, very strong farmer now with the long range ultimate, can really screw with some lanes from quite a distance, so I'm going to take that off the table.
Yeah, completely understandable why they get rid of Ziggs. Even though it didn't necessarily crush last game, Nidalee did get the upper hand. It's still a very strong character. Rumble gets banned out against Zyraz, who ran it against Zazas at the top lane. Unfortunately, from his team's perspective, they weren't victorious. But the Gragas has not been banned and will be first picked, and that is a staple top-tier mid laner.
Honestly, it immediately says to Tricked now, you got to pick Orianna. To be honest, the way these games go, this matchup, this situation, without her being banned and with Gragas being picked so swiftly by Property, Orianna's the way to go. Now, for Trick, that means, okay, we don't have to pick that yet. We can wait. We know that's coming. We don't have to fight for an AP carry. We can give it some time. So they can look at some of the other priority champs that weren't banned this game that were before. Shyvana, the first one that's being selected and hovered there. Renekton was in the last game in the top lane but was banned previously, but again, it's something that they can now consider. Instead, they're going to lock in that very quick Caitlyn, take that away, and because of how versatile she is in 2v2 situations against other AD carry supports because of the range she's got, and then of course using that range again in 2v1 situations, she's just a strong, all-round, great AD carry for this patch.
Yeah, and also remember that Selova ran Caitlyn both the first 2 games and won both games. So Caitlyn is 2 for 2 thus far in Dreamhack. Yep. So one of the top AD carries is going to be locked in first, as you said from Trick, alongside the Shyvana. So Shyvana and Gragas, first time they've been allowed, and they're going to be locked in instantly. Back over to Property. How are they going to counteract these picks?
I don't want to see them pick the Renekton, because if that is a top lane Shyvana from Tricked, he loses.
Yeah.
He loses that matchup straight up. It is not a good one for him. Now, that means they could leave a couple of other options or wait a little bit later and hope that perhaps is a jungle Shyvana and see if Tricked here reveal their top laner. Then Renekton might work well against that guy instead. But Tricked still have a little way to go. They could pick their Orianna here and leave their top laner till last, because it's not like the previous games where they've had to leave that AP carry until their last pick. But Property are looking for their options. They've gone with that Lee Sin. Again, Shyvana straight out 1v1. Can win that matchup. It's a little bit tighter depending on skill shots and abilities, but she can still take that one.
Ooh. But we were talking about Renekton that you didn't want to see Property pick it up. It's still available for Tricked. So if that does get locked in, that's a Shyvana jungle.
Exactly, that was my next option. Shyvana could stay in the jungle. Trick can then say, right, okay, you try to bait out, you try to wait, see what our top laner was before you picked it. Well, we're going to take that Renekton instead. So yes, Shyvana is in the jungle. She can do just fine against your Lee Sin. She can go and support the 2v1s very well. She can just farm up and get very strong on her own very well. She can invade and duel you very, very nicely. And we're going to have that Renekton, who is a strong, staple, solid top laner, who, okay, you haven't picked your AD carry yet, but against a Thresh, he doesn't do too badly in that 2v1 because hooking in becomes quite a challenge with that slice and dice.
Yeah. Plus, if he gets Dominus, maybe that's not something you want to be catching, because he can turn the tables, especially when you look on the side of Shyvana. Dragon's Descent is up, is extremely fast with burnout as well. Very mobile, underrated, I have to feel.
Yep, and if you've got Shyvana hiding off to the wings, perhaps in the lane, and you come a little bit too far forward looking for a hook or looking for that last auto attack, Caitlyn, quick slice and dice through the minion wave, stun from Renekton, and before you know it, Shyvana's on top of you, and they're both ripping you apart. And that's a very high damage combo, Renekton and Shyvana.
Yeah, they have also gone in for the Sona, which is not the first time we've seen this pick today, and potential Vayne and Shen. That's an interesting lane I've not seen in a while, Vayne and Thresh.
I mean, it's not uncommon, it's not unheard of. It's a challenge, and I'm not sure I like it. You put it against Sona Caitlyn, you're going to get bullied.
Yeah.
Because Caitlyn range, she bullies Vayne,
Yeah.
hands down. You put it against Renekton, just as we mentioned, you little bit step off to one side, one auto attack trying to hit the turret as Vayne, and Renekton slice and dash through the creep wave, stuns you, Shyvana's on top of you. Vayne is very, very open to that. Now, that does mean there's a lot of pressure on your Thresh to keep the distance and try and keep them away, but it's not so easily to do all the time. Could be an AP Ezreal. But, I mean, it's a bit of a risky play. They could be willing to put it in the 2v2 against Caitlyn and Vayne and just let her get bullied a bit early and let her wait and try and wait this out and go for the long game. But I'd like to think instead they're looking to keep her alive early in the 2v1, wait, because while they're a little bit risky early, the flashes, the barriers, there should be enough to keep her alive, at least for the first few levels. Then once Shen hits 6, and at least Sin just camping that bottom lane, waiting for that Shyvana gank, they can try and turn it on Tricked. But again, these are all very, very versatile possible situations that are going to change as the game plays out.
Because Caitlyn, as you mentioned before, the long range is considered a counter to Vayne in lane because you can just bully so much just with auto attacks. And you get headshot proc as well. Suddenly Vayne's been popped down to quarter HP, can't do anything. With the Ezreal lock-in for Zivis, as you said, it could be an APS or they could be running double AD. So, you know, we were making the jokes before about Crystalline cloning himself. Yeah. But it looks as though that could actually happen with the double AD comp. They've got Shyvana as well, who does quite a lot of magic damage.
Yep.
So it's not a terrible idea. Plus, if Ezreal builds a Triforce, he's still doing some AP damage himself.
Exactly. Even if he doesn't build AP, he's doing a fair bit of a magic damage. Shyvana's doing a lot of magic damage. Renekton does a lot of magic damage. So it's not that they can just build pure armor and stay fine.
Yeah.
They still have to try and mix it up a little way. It's also the fact I wouldn't like to see double AD against Gragas because of that barrel. Yes, it's very hard to catch both of them in there, but it's a big range, and if you do catch both of them, there's a 40% attack speed slow on both of your AD carries. In theory, in lane, very, very hard for Gragas to finish off Ezreal because of course, the arcane shift away from his ultimates or even just away from the normal harass, so he should be on full health majority of the time. Whether Huberto and whether Zivis can really pull that match off perfectly, we'll have to wait and see, but I would like to see Ezreal go AP here.
So we could potentially, fingers crossed, have an AP Ezreal, which would be pretty cool.
Those can be pretty exciting. The way we can see them blow people up, the burst they can put out, the arcane shift into Mystic Shot, just decimating people, and of course the fact that it ignores creeps gives him some great harass in lane, landing that onto Gragas. But the players are loaded, they're ready, and they're starting up their level 1, so we're going to dive straight into the game.
Yes, we are. Right onto the Rift. Tricked Esports up against the team of Team Property. Both of these were last-minute replacements for the 3 teams we had drop out, which were Copenhagen Wolves, Ninjas in Pyjamas, and also Team Ultra Virez. So mad props to both of them for stepping in last second, but it comes down to this. They've both lost their first game. So if you lose this, you're down and out. It's that simple.
Yeah, exactly. Both these teams are 0-1. We've got to hold on to their lives here. And we did see Thresh immediately making their way down towards the bottom of their red buff plants ward there to check for the entrance on their, the Trick side. Trick sent Sona in the same position to check for Property's entrance, and both teams now have seen each other. Complete five-man lineups all in their opposing jungles. They know everything about it. Property doing just like we've seen every blue team do before. Drop a ward in by that Wraith push and drop a ward there to check for the lane swaps behind that turret too. Now what we haven't seen before is what Trick are doing. They're heading back off in that direction, looking to potentially catch Property. Now this I like. This is really smart. They've hoped and they've gambled for the fact that Property is sending their AD carry support back and towards the bottom lane, and they're looking to go and catch out the jungler starting at his blue buff on his own.
Yeah, and this also suggests to me that Trick have been doing their research. They watched the previous game. They saw Team Property do this against KMT. So like, we're going to try and catch ourselves first blood. Unfortunately, by a chain of events, that's not going to be the case, and both teams do back on off.
Yeah, they didn't want to go for a full-on invade. You don't want to go that deep, because if it does backfire, then you've not got your AD carry support in the bottom lane, all these other positioning issues. But if someone for Property was to face check in, trample onto ward, if they were to come the other way around to get back into that lane, yes, you could catch them as a 5-man, blow them up. But it's not quite the same as doing a full-on proper invade. Let's have a look at Zivis and see exactly what he has chosen to start with. 75 AD, so he's going ADs.
He is. I'd expect to see Triforce, though. I mean, that is just a core item on Ezreal, which is still going to give him some AP damage. But as we were expecting, we said Vayne doesn't do too well against Caitlyn. They're going to go ahead and switch up. This is allowing Vayne to get free farm and escalate into that mid to later stages even quicker. That being said, though, if Caitlyn gets free farm, is just as scary in the mid game.
Very much so. I mean, there's still a chance here that Ez could switch it up and build pure AP here and just have the AD runes for the early laning, because that will help him bully onto Greg. Gragas has notoriously good sustain and get a percentage of his health back every time he uses an ability, making it very hard for him to push out a lane. But at these early levels, when he can't afford to spam abilities like that, an AD champion can really punish that. Now, we did see, straight after the blue buff, we saw Shyvana go in and take away the enemy red, but again, Lee Sin saw this thanks to the early level 1 ward that was placed and went to go and take the opposition's red, steal that away as well himself. So both junglers staying on the respective halves of the map at the moment. Lee making the most of it and taking away the Wraith Camp as well. Shyvana's done that. Shyvana's going to take the golems, and we may see both junglers just completely clean their opposition's jungle instead of their own.
Yeah. And I actually really like the pickup of Ezreal, though. It makes a lot more sense when you kind of just factor it in that Gragas is a melee champion. Yes, he has barrels. Yes, he has the explosive casket 6. But before that, he's very susceptible to being harassed. And that's what Zivic is doing. He's just like, cool, take an auto attack, you're down to 50% HP. You can't engage with me anymore. So he's just bullying this mid. And you can see that in terms of CS, 8-17 already.
We do in fact see Lee Sin going in top lane. The hook has land onto Doris. We do get a lot of turret shots going down onto Nikwa and onto Lee Sin, but the first blood will fall. Vayne picks up the kill. Lee Sin incredibly low with the ignite ticking, but still manages to walk on out of there with his life. Bottom lane, Shen taking a lot of punishment, but he's not going to fall down quite like the Renekton did. He doesn't have that hook to be worried about, but the tower will die.
He did pick up Feint, which is going to give him a nice little shield, but still the tower has fallen. 2 players very, very low at top, not going to matter because the opposition jungle was at bot. They're completely fine, and they are going to return the favor. They're going to pick up this tower.
I really like what this play is here from Trick. Now, they know that Lee Sin is low and still in the top lane. They know Vayne is low and still in the top lane. They took a long time to kill that turret, and they know with their jungler still where he is and with Smite still up, they can really rush down this Drake. So yes, they lost the first blood, they lost that turret in the top lane, but they used it to get the bottom tower and the Drake. Not all the teams, not everyone will grab that Drake as well in that push, and it's not always possible, but they've really made the best of a bad situation there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're still going to see Zivic just pushing this mid lane. You're actually seeing Lee Sin come up. Do you think that Fizzin is going to try his luck against Ezreal? I mean, Ezreal's very slippery with Arcane Shift. It's difficult to lock him down.
It is, but he's been very aggressive and in your face. So there's potential of perhaps blowing away his flash there or something else. Okay, he's got Arcane Shift and he's got flash, so he shouldn't die. But yes, if Fizzin wanted to go in that, there was a potential of blowing at least the flash to get away. But instead, he's just going to come in and help Alberto push the lane to push the creeps out, make sure, gives him a bit of free time to base without losing too much to the turret. As it is, with that turret dying, it's interesting to watch both Thresh and Vayne go back to the top lane, and Caitlyn and Sona go back to the bottom lane. You normally see them switch things around again, and perhaps bring Vayne Thresh down bottom and try and get that turret instead. But they're still at that point in the game where Caitlyn and Sona would just bully Vayne way too hard. She cannot deal with that. They've killed those towers so quickly, they cannot deal with this combo. Doesn't even have that Cutlass up yet, so she has to go back into the top lane and carry on 2v1ing Renekton.
That's exactly it. If Vayne and Thresh go to bot lane, they lose a lot of their presence in lane right now. They can still free farm against Renekton, who's actually gone back. So again, it's getting Vayne to that scary position where she can duel and she can just crush enemies. Vayne is nowhere near there just yet, so it would have been a mistake to put her back at bot lane against Crystalland and also Sona.
So we do now see Lee Sin hiding in that bottom bush. Just waiting and watching for Caitlyn to get a bit too close. Shen's doing a good job of trying to bait her forward, and in fact Lee Sin will go in. We see in the mid lane, we see Trashy coming around right behind Gilberto, but a quick flash body slam takes him to safety.
Yeah, Gragas is very, very difficult to catch up with if he has his flash and his body slam available, so he'll just be going back. However, has been caught from Trashy here. Again, the body slam forcing him back, but that's going to be some free wraiths. Or I thought it was before Gragas scumbagged a couple away.
Yeah, he took all the little ones away with that barrel, but the big one was just on a tiny sliver of HP, so that's the important one, and Shyvana still got it. But again, she's doing that Shyvana thing, using the movement speed, getting into tricky positions. They knew Lee Sin was bot, they saw him the entire time he was pressuring Sona Caitlyn, so she's going to go and take some of the jungle away. Now, we've got the buffs respawning in about 20 seconds, 25 seconds, but Shyvana's going to have to be very careful if she starts making her way towards her top one, because one, Lee Sin killed it first place, so he knows the timing, he's going to be there on the ball if they want to, and two, and more importantly, Vayne and Thresh are under this tier 2 turret in the top lane. If they want to come in and help Lee take this red away, that could be some very easy kills for them if Trick to play it wrong.
Yeah, but I guess the question may be, where does Fizzin's allegiances lie? Does he want to try and give Gragas a free buff? or does he want to play aggressive and try and steal away the red? Looks right now, actually, you're going to have an engage in mid lane. Zivic has got himself caught out of position. Ignite comes down as well from Hilberto. The barrel comes through. It's actually preemptive, but Zivic went the other way. Now he actually has the cavalry forming in with both Caitlyn and Son, and that first kill will be going down as Ezreal gets shut out from Lee Sin. And now they're thinking about turning this one back round, but they're both a bit too healthy. In fact, the Qs have been landing. Fizzin's going back in again, slowing them down with Tempest Cripple. They're thinking about going on top of this, but Shen's just a bit too far away. They can't collapse.
Just doing a little bit too much. Trashy flash under the turret from Infinity to finish off the last attack on him. And do land a couple of extra hooks. So yes, Renekton and Shyvana have a lot of damage, but consistent harass from Vayne and Thresh and consistent wheeling them way outside of the turret is enough for them to land that execute and finish it off. Vayne now with 2 kills. It's going to start ramping up her power pretty significantly. And now, without having Shyvana there, Renekton's left to defend that turret on his own. Brings Ezreal down to help him out. But Property are happy to just take the golems instead.
Yeah, the Silver Bolt procs just doing so much percent damage to Renekton, who really couldn't do anything there. Only has 20 CS, whereas if you look at the 2 AD carries, Vayne and Caitlyn are pretty much identical. That's great news for Vayne, because typically has a very weak early game. Plus the 2 kills, as you said, it's going to have a ton of gold. In fact, let's check. Just went back and got a Bilgewater Cutlass, Berserker Greaves, and a Dagger. So those Silver Bolts procs are going to be coming out thick and fast.
You can see she's up 600 gold there on Caitlyn, which is, while it doesn't sound like much considering how early we are in this game, that's going to be pretty significant. That 600 gold really will help push home that advantage. They're still not willing to put her up against Sona and Caitlyn again. She's going back into that top lane, but she's hit that point now with that Cutlass that she can easily deal with her next 1v1 on her own. Yes, he's got Dominus, yes, he's got a stun, but providing Vayne tumbles in the right directions, lands a good condemn and hits that Cutlass off, she should easily be able to 1v1 him down in her current state.
And plus, look at his items, like Chain Vest, bare minimum right now.
Yeah,
and
I mean, 600
gold is the difference between Vampiric Scepter and Bilgewater Cutlass. So that's really significant for Vayne especially.
Exactly. I mean, if he had Giant Spell, things might be different, because it would take a lot more attacks to get through, but the armor's not the biggest issue against Vayne. That true damage is going to be the issue, and, well, Chain Vest isn't going to stop it. He does have Shyvana coming up to help her out now, so we'll see if Renekton and Shyvana can really punish Vayne for being alone. But Thresh here in this mid lane is trying to apply some pressure, and just that fear of God, fear of that hook, putting it into Ezreal.
Yeah, Zivic has to be super careful, because if the death sentence lands, the amount of burst damage they have to follow up is quite crazy. Top lane, though, going to be an engage kicking off onto Fizzin, as both Doris and Trashy are hungry for this kill. They want to take out the Vayne before it gets too big. Barry's been used, but it's just delaying the inevitable. They're going to pick up that kill.
I do not know why Vayne was so far up the lane without vision of those champions. Like, she allowed herself to get baited straight back up by Renekton. I mean, what Renekton lets those creeps go all the way back up the lane when he's up against just the Vayne? He would easily just slice and dice through it, cover them, he can clean the lane off. Instead, he let it come all the way back up to that golem bush, lets her stand there, and oh look, there's a dragon that's come out of it. What a surprise, who'd have thought that one's coming. Do get a quick pause. It's interesting to see something, maybe. Someone's got some kind of technical issues, but as soon as we find out what that is, we'll let you know. Hopefully it won't be too long. Didn't see anything crazy, obviously. It wasn't like my mouse was in the wrong direction. Although, I say that, Caitlyn's Pill over Peacemaker did just fly off in a very weird place.
Yeah, indeed. So, it's I'm not too sure what to take from this game thus far. I mean, you've got to say Team Property are looking a lot stronger right now than their opposition of Tricked Esports, but it appears to be a sound bug that they have. So basically it's going to come down to they're going to try and fix this one, the technicians are going to be on the job, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be back into the game very shortly.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Meanwhile, we'll sit here and watch Mobility Boots bug out and think. But we're looking at about, well, 10 minutes, 20 away. And we haven't seen anyone make that play for the second Drake yet. We saw the first one go down very, very early on to Tricked. That was a nice play by them after getting that kill down in getting the tower in the bottom lane, rotating around there while Shen was kept busy. For the next one, it's not going to go quite so simply. I mean, we've seen Lee Sin pay a lot less, Shyvana pay a lot of attention to the top lane. Lee Sin, however, has been paying a lot of attention to this mid lane and bottom lane now. If he gets that kind of opening down there, or even if he's just in the area and they notice Shyvana in the top lane, the speed at which this Property lineup can switch up and take down that dragon is going to be quite something for Trick to pay attention to, and they could get caught off guard by it.
Yeah, so as you can see, we are back again. The problems have been rectified. Just having a quick peek at bot lane, because Lee Sin is going to be running away. Ace in the hole was used just a few moments beforehand, before that pause happened, so just forcing away Lee Sin, but he's going to be fine again. That being said, though, Shyvana with Burnout is chasing him down. Here comes Infinity from the backside, and Trashy is thinking twice. Nico has been caught out of position here, slowed down from the power cord as well. Crescendo comes through, lands on 3. That's absolutely beautiful. They pick up the kill on Thresh, now going to chase after Lee Sin, but instead of doing so, they're going to just maybe pick up the dragon instead. There's no point chasing when there's a free objective.
Yeah, and more importantly, they killed Thresh before Shen's ult finished channeling.
Yeah.
If Shen had landed, then I suspect we'd have still see Property taking this fight and trying to continue it and even things up and take the Drake. But as soon as that Thresh died, before Shen finished his channel, it was very, very close, but it was before. Shen's up the top lane, they are massively outnumbered. They couldn't go back in and take that, so Tricked managed to pick themselves up a second dragon, and as a result, they're back in the gold lead. Jen is getting a big push on the top lane, he's up to the tier 2 turret, but with Necton already on his way there, that turret will stay alive.
Plus, the fact that the Stan United is down as well is not going to enable him to just suddenly disappear. To split push, split push, split push. Bot lane, actually the final hour has been popped off from Infinity, so they're looking for this return kill. They do manage to pick it up, and now Crystalline has the bullseye painted on his backside. Does enough damage to force him back, has taken a lot, plus no mana, so he's not going to be able to defend this tower anymore.
No, he's going to leave that up and Lee Sin down there too. Make the most of it, and they should have finished that off. They did obviously just lose out the dragon, so they're going to get the map control from this tower and the gold instead. Mid tier 1 turret still standing for Tricked, but Zivith has to back and away, and with Shen and Gragas nearby, wouldn't be surprised to see Property rotate around and take that down pretty rapidly.
So they have picked up the tower there at the bot lane. Let's have a quick look at some of the items being built up here as we reach a bit of a lull. Well, having a quick look, you know, Ezreal, he's building the components of Triforce, but it's not really blowing me away. I mean, he's not doing the kind of damage that Gragas is going to be doing when he has his combo with the Q and the R. That's so much burst.
Yeah, we saw him try and put it down on Ezreal earlier, and it did work very well, pushed him back in towards the turret.
Yeah.
As Arcane shifted a little bit late, he still got away from there with a little bit of help from friends, but well, for a little while, and then got picked off in the jungle, but still, that Gragas combination, even on Ezreal with the amount of blinks and slippery abilities he's got, can catch you off guard and can really set them in a bad position. So we've got to see Zivich on the ball, be ready for this combo, because if that barrel does push him in one direction, even if he Arcane shift afterwards, if there's at least in Q already landed, if the Sonic Wave is already landed and hits him in the face, it's going to be very, very hard to stay alive.
Yeah, you are going to be dead if Lee Sin lands the Q afterwards, for sure. Well, we do have the Blade of the Rune King finished off onto Vayne, and some pretty slick mechanics, actually, for Ezreal not to get stunned across the wall. Trashy comes in as well. Does have the Dragon's Descent, but again, they don't want to be jumping in because they are behind, and they know in terms of damage, Vayne is going to absolutely decimate that team if given half a chance.
Yeah, I honestly, I thought Ezreal was dead for a moment there. As soon as I saw him run that direction, I thought he's going to get condemned and die. But he fired off that Mystic shot, and then immediately he predicted it. He knew that condemn was more likely on its way, and pushed himself into safety. Nice red buff steal though from Property. As we mentioned, they had the timing, they had the idea, and with everyone in that mid lane, they did rotate around to pick that up quick and easy. Tricked looked for the opportunity to try and pressure that mid turret. As a result, didn't quite have enough damage to get through it as the rest of Property to return to the lane though, and Tricked are shoved off and away from the tower.
But Property are just changing gears. They're, okay, you're not going to let us get mid, we'll just go top. We'll pick up yet another tower. So 3-1, they're ahead by 1,000 gold, and they have gold in the right places. As we said before, Vayne is huge right now. Gragas is only going to get bigger. His burst damage, yes, he can be mechanically gifted with Ezreal, but if you have a fed Gragas throwing a barrel roll, and then the ultimate, you're dead. Zivich has just been caught out here from Fizzin, but with Nisbeth being there, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, a little bit of damage, a little bit of annoying, but can't go too much deeper than that. You see Doris taunted up by Zarek as he comes in to try and steal away the golem. And, well, Shen picked that up himself. But look, we've hit that point now, Shen Renekton, where honestly they can't really scratch each other too much. They all just sit there and trade and love tap backwards and forwards, and that's generally the result of it. So those two are going to sit up there now. Shen's going to try and ult away every now and again. If he's not careful with it, Renekton will of course cancel it. But otherwise they're going to sit in that top lane, just pushing each other backwards and forwards for the foreseeable future. We do in fact see, Doris popping his ultimate and really trying to chase him down, but it's not going to get him very far. He's just going to try and whittle away some of Shen's health. He's going to get it all back as he starts landing more Vorpal Blades later on. Where is going to be action, however, is this middle lane. We see 4 members of Tricked down and around there now. And, well, Property are closing in from all sides.
Oh, Doris is still hungry for Fizzin, because Cyrus, I should say, because just constantly pushing him. Just gets to level 11 now. But it's a case that even if you do get Cyrus really low, he has Stand United. You've only got Ruthless Predator. Meanwhile, a bot lane actually going to be heavily engaged. Crescendo comes in, and the final hour as well from Infinity. But do they want to jump on top of this? Because here comes Trashy from the backside. Stand United in from Shen, and the Dragon's Descent as well. Nico is trying his best to escape, but here comes the ace in the hole. Who's going to block it? It's going to be Shen. They've turned this one back around again. True Shot Barrage comes through. Not quite able to land. And nobody actually falling apart from Thresh in that team fight. It looked to me, it could have been a hell of a lot more people falling.
Property made the engage. Ooh, Sonic Waves, he can use it? No. Property making the engage, looking for the fight, coming out slightly behind. They have still managed to split Trick down and take a lot of them low that they can take this turret. And Zivis might have actually put himself up in a horrible position, getting caught around the backside. Sonic Wave landed, as you mentioned, and down he goes. Gragos was there to help out, and that was all it took. Really bad positioning from Zivic. Ultimately, he should not have been there. No matter how slippery and safe you think Ezreal might be, he had no reason to be there. He wasn't going to stop them pushing the tower from there. As a result, gave himself up, gave away his life. So Property do manage to get that initial kill onto Ezreal. Sorry, as a constellation kill onto Ezreal after losing the initial kill onto Thresh. It was a nice idea from Nikwa. It was a good try to try and catch Caitlyn and put her down there, but because of where Vayne was, she couldn't follow up that lantern in time. She wasn't ready, and Caitlyn managed to reposition and save her life as a result. The hook was nice, but as soon as she realized where Vayne was, I would have just liked to see Thresh not activate it. It was just a bit too over the mark.
It's very reminiscent, though, of the game that we saw previously between Team Property and KMT, where, yes, you got a couple kills, but so what? You're not taking any objectives, you're not pressuring anything, you're still on the back foot. So you can get kills all you want, but it's objectives that win matches. So, and again, it was actually support for a mid-lane trade. So in that terms, again, Team Property are happy with that all day long.
We do see Doris getting caught out again around by the jungle, but again, he's incredibly tanky at the moment, doesn't have to worry too much about it. Zeras taking a little bit of poke from everyone as they close in, but we have all 5 members of both teams now around the Dragon Pit. So there's no Shen ultimate. Okay, he's down here, but it's the big shield is quite a big factor of it too, especially now he's level 12, so he's got a level 2 ultimate. That shield is getting much, much bigger, but they do not have that to play with. Cooldown is getting lower and lower, but Property just trying to stall out for a while and using these pink wards to take control of the vision gain. Caitlyn a little bit exposed off on the top side of the river, has left Zeras and Fizzin to fend for themselves around Dragon, but these are very slippery members and they are on their way out successfully. The rest of Property rotate down from the Dragon again and force 4 remaining members of Tricked up towards the blue buff while Caitlyn manages to regain her footing in the middle lane. But she's going to need support soon as Vayne and Gragas are both looking to finish off that tier 1 mid turret on Tricked side of the map.
So a couple of things there. One, I honestly feel that Tricked would have fully engaged and committed to that fight had Caitlyn been there. In fact, hold that thought, because Death Sentence has landed. Will it live up to its name, though? Because Trashy does have the Dragon's Descent. Actually turning this one back around. True Shot Barrage comes through. Absolutely decimates Thresh. And now they're turning it on Trashy as the crescendo lands on a bunch of players. Gragasol comes in as well. And now they're looking to turn the tides. Infinity's doing a lot of damage, though, so they need to be super careful. Is going to be able to pick up that kill alongside Lee Sin. Zivic doesn't want to misplace himself because he's going to fall to Vayne. And I feel that last kill probably wasn't needed.
Yeah, he hung around there for way too long, and now that may have written the death warrant for the rest of his team. The Shen ultimate has come back, of course, and this time the Taunt's not quite going to land, but it's not going to matter. There's 2 people on top of Caitlyn's enough for Gragas to come in with that final barrel and clean up. And Trick look good at the start of the fight. They are in their strong point of the game before Vayne really gets the rest of her, before Gragas really starts to load the damage out with his full combo and that death cap. But Trick gave up so many free kills there that could have really been avoided. The Property are going to have a massive spike now once they go back and shop. There's going to be a lot of gold on each of them. You see 1,300 Gragas, 1,200 in Vayne. They're going to get the Drake down. They're going to get this mid-tier 1 turret as well, and that gold is going to spike up further. There we go. So when the next fight continues, when the next time they come out on the map, there's an extra needlessly large rod in Gragas' bag. There's going to be a complete last whisper, I believe, in Vayne's. Yes, she still hasn't completed. There she goes. In a moment. In a moment. Back she goes. There we go. Complete last whisper for Vayne as well. And that spike, that damage that they had there in the last game, last fight was fairly substantial. It picked up those 4 kills. But now they're going to do it a whole lot quicker.
And remember that Team Property are the home favourites. 4 Swedes, 1 Finn. So the crowd is going to get behind these guys. They're looking to keep themselves in Dreamhack. They lost their first game against KMT. This is a must-win matchup. And so far, they've been pulling out all the stops. They're just over 4,000 gold ahead. 3 objectives as well at 20.5 minutes. And remember, late game, they are terrifying. Vayne and Gragas, plus the tankiness that Shen will bring, and the utility that Lee Sin can get away with. Going to the back lines, kicking Caitlyn back into your team, and then allowing the pain train to get rolled.
Yeah, Threshook looking for Sona, couldn't quite find it this time around. Back pressuring that mid lane, just cleaning way off the wave as Shen heads down towards that bottom lane to start pushing onto their tier 2 turret that way. He's got that Sunfire up, so his push will be fairly rapid, and with the Dragon down, having control of that half of the map, it's favourable property. All the outer turrets dead as far as they are concerned now, and the tier 2 turret in the top lane has also dropped. So really, I'd actually kind of like to see Shen go top and watch the rest of the team go bottom and grab that turret instead. So we'll see what they're looking to do with this, unless it is early Baron Rush, perhaps. They are cleaning it now with the Oracles from Thresh. They have got Vayne and Lee Sin. They have got a fair bit of damage if they want to, but it's a very risky play that I don't think would pay off, and I'm pretty sure they're going to avoid it too. But otherwise, why send Shen bottom? I'd much rather see him up top.
Well, the likes of Dyrus have called it Lord Throwzone for a reason. You know, if you're ahead by multiple thousands, why would you risk that? Just kind of go for the jugular, be relentless and ruthless, and this is what the top teams do. When they have an advantage, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And Team Property are positioning themselves very reminiscent of KMT, I must say, actually, with their very strong solo laner occupying bot or top and allowing the rest of the team to win in those 4 versus 4 situations. Plus it's Shen. So even if we do go into 4 versus 4, suddenly it's a 5 versus 4. Trashy's found himself both Lee Sin and Shen. Lands the Qs, but he's too tanky.
Yeah, it's a little bit too strong. He knew something was up when Shen started to taunt him as well down there. Lee Sin had been stalking that lane for a while, but there's that tier 2 turret in the bottom lane being focused down now by Lee. Still not quite ready to finish it off. Shen, there we go, we'll get it with the feint. So there's that tier 2 turret in the bottom lane finish. Another 1,000 gold for Property. Shyvana pushed back again. And well, the tricks we've got to watch out as the rest of the Property rotate now round towards this middle lane. And they think they'll take the Wolves out on his way over there. But Property with that long-range poke coming out from Gragas barrels will start to pressure their turret pretty soon. They've got good return wave clear from Tricked in Sona, Caitlyn and Ezreal, but they're still taking a lot of damage to this turret each wave that they could be avoiding.
And they're constantly on the back foot. There is no way of them pressing forward, because if they do, you've got 2 carries that have 1 death between them and 7 kills. So it goes to show that in just raw damage output, Tricked Esports are always coming out second best if it has been caught. And look at that burst, just from a couple of auto attacks, just from a barrel, instantly down to like 10% HP.
Yeah, he didn't have to flash to get away from that one, so there's a slight win for him, as he still got his flash up. But he did have Arcane Shift, and he did have to dash quite the distance away. But, as you mentioned, that was minor amount of time. It was a very, very small amount of time that damage got put down on. If that's in the middle of a team fight, that AD carry is not going to live for much longer. A couple of attacks from Vayne and he'd be gone. But more importantly, right now, it means he had to go back to the fountain, which means they had a little bit more time to do free damage to that mid-tier 2 tower. So that's even lower again, and it's soon to be the 6th kill of the game for Property as far as towers go. Dragon is up in 1:49, so we can see them back off now. We can see Vayne get top lane, we can see her pick up that farm, and then rotate down towards that after a quick shop. But here's where Shen needs to be careful. If he keeps this pressure up while his team's all basing and shopping and preparing for the Dragon, he is in big danger of a 5-man gank. As a result, he's recalling.
Yeah, and although he could escape, may have to use his ultimate, which is completely needless. You know, if your team's recalling, you may as well join them, because you're always going to find yourself outnumbered and outgunned. So they're going to go back, as you say. Dragon's up now at 1:20, and this for me just looks like a guaranteed ironclad objective for Team Property. If Tricked come and try and throw a spanner in the works, I can only see it ending one way, and that's probably coming out ahead again.
We've got a minute till that kicks in. Property are back out on the map. Gragas is now going to be the last man to recall. Vayne's bought herself a Zeal and a Crit Cloak in amongst that too, so she can get that a little bit stronger. You'll be able to chase people down that much more, and with a couple of lucky crits, perhaps pick up an extra kill that wasn't there last time around. Just heading down towards this bottom lane now. Shyvana recalling, getting away from us. There's just going to be some more creeps for Vayne to push that up, get that lane pushing in there, advantage pushing towards the Tricked base, ready for the Drake in 40 seconds. Renekton done what he can to push the top lane out, but Shen's ult's back up, so he's rotated around and he's going to start to counter push that. Renekton has to go down and help his team at Dragon, otherwise they're going to have to give it up.
I just want to pick your brain a tiny bit, because for KMT we saw Celiva on Caitlyn go Bloodthirster into Static Shiv. Have a look here at Crystalline's Caitlyn. Completely different. Blade of the Rune King into Last Whisper. Why, and what are your thoughts?
It's a little bit nicer because if you've got the likes of Shen and Lee Sin right on top of you, you can pop that Blade of the Rune King and turn and run, get that range back in, get that advantage that you have being Caitlyn. But it's not as great in the initial damage. It's not great for the Piltover Peacemakers. Celeber built Bloodthirster, Bloodthirster and Static Shiv because they wanted to really push lanes and go for objectives. They wanted to clear minion waves in very short amounts of time. So they'd use a Piltover Peacemaker along the wave with a fully stacked Bloodthirster, and then one attack from the Static Shiv should be enough to take the rest of the minions. Tricked here, Crystalline, on the other hand, is looking more to team fights. That's where he's got to focus on. They've just had to give up that dragon completely for free because they cannot fight the property team as they stand. But the Blade of the Rune King gives him that bit more safety in those fights.
Yeah, it's definitely an understandable build, but is sacrificing a bit on raw damage, I have to feel.
Yes.
The Ace in the Hole simply not going to be doing much.
Yeah, it's slower, steadier damage,
Yeah.
it's there, as opposed to Bloodthirster Static Shiv, which is quicker, sharper, snappier output.
Yeah. Death Sentence narrowly missing on Zivic. If that had landed, I'm pretty certain that would have been an all-in for him, with Gragas and Lee Sin being stood only a few meters away. But again, we're seeing that split push tactic. Shen's going to be occupying top, looking to push down these inhib towers, and in the meanwhile, the rest of his team's going to be doing work in mid. Yes, this tower hasn't fallen yet, but they're chipping away. It's a slow and gradual process. And again, what are Tricked Esports doing? Not a great deal. They're constantly on the back foot. They cannot mount an offensive.
So we just see Vayne down in the bottom lane, almost soloing through Trashy. I mean, they're not fighting, but she's keeping her occupied and doing enough damage to keep her busy. Doris and Xerax in the top lane, again, just trading backwards and forwards. But we've hit the point now where Renekton's damage doesn't go through Shen's feint, and Shen's just going to slowly whittle Renekton down every time they trade. Every time they trade, it's going to get lower and lower. So Doris is having to go back to the fountain between each of these waves to heal up a little bit, and in this case, buy an extra item. While Lee Sin, Gragas, and Thresh are pressuring this mid turret, which doesn't seem like much, but considering every time there's another wave, Thresh can land an attack on the tower, which is slightly empowered. They are getting through that pretty rapidly, and now that only Ezreal is left to defend it, the three of them can finish it off.
Yep, so they are taking all of the outer towers now. In fact, none of them stand. So right now, Tricked, they're about as claustrophobic as it gets. They're back in their base. They cannot leave their base. They can't get their buffs. They can't go for Dragon. They can't potentially go for Baron either. So they're just stuck. And it's the turtle game now. They have to wait a long time before they have the items to actually go for a fight. And you look at who they're against. They're going to be happy. Gragas and Vayne are going to be happy to go to late game.
Very much so. Property are very, very content waiting this out. And as you can see here, that's why they're not doing any crazy dives. That's why the hook that did land on Zivix in the mid lane was just used as a quick unload your combos and back away. They weren't looking to dive onto him under that tower. They were just blowing what they had with ranged abilities and then letting go. They didn't chase him down because they can still lose these fights under turrets, but they've got that range, they've got that slow game, and with all these waves going in, they're just getting farm after farm, more creeps and more creeps, more creeps on their important people. And yes, every now and again, they are getting a kill here and there, and they're getting a dragon and a tower here and there. But again, that's just funneling gold into their carries, which they can then wait 20, 30, 40 minutes, and then they'll go for their big dives and their big explosive finishes. It's on Tricked to force those fights beforehand, but right now there is not that opportunity. That has not presented themselves in a situation that they feel would favour them. And I can't say they're wrong. There are very few situations now that would favour a Tricked engage, but it's on them to find that one that does.
Yeah, and I just caught off the corner of my eye there Shen's build. Completely against AD. Like Thorn Mail, Sunfire Cape, you've even got the Warden's Mail and the Ninja Tabby Boots for good measure. So this is one of the drawbacks about going double AD comp. In fact, in mid lane, Zivik has been absolutely crushed. Here comes the flash, and also the Death Sentence will be landing. They're jumping on Ezreal, who instantly gets popped down. Now going to be turning their focus on Trashy, who's been forced to flash away, and the Dragon's Descent as well, but he's going to be chased down from the remainder of Team Property. Look at that damage from Vayne, but the damage has been done overall. They no longer have their Ezreal. They can look to push another objective.
There were some huge crits coming out of Vayne there, as well as the Silver Bolt procs, and as a result she tore through Ezreal without him actually taking any of the CC from Nikwa. None of the hooks landed, the flay lands, none of the box landed. That was just Vayne flashing forward, landing some very, very large crit damage onto her. Then yes, they forced a flash away from Trashy, But again, another couple of big crits landed onto Kayla and forced her back to the fountain, meaning that inhib turret was completely exposed. And now the inhibitor. Shen is still pushing the bottom lane. He's actually, in fact, just ignored Shyvana, run straight past the turret and heading across it to help out his team. So down goes the inhib, and they're going to try and follow up onto Doris.
Yeah, dominance was popped there from Doris. Actually going to be flashing back in. Could this be the latch dish effort from Tricked? As ultimates coming down plenty. Crescendo, True Shot Barrage, Dominance. It's nowhere near enough. And now Property are going ham. They are going for the jugular. They pick up a triple kill on Vayne, looking for the quadra kill. Is he going to manage to get it? No, Scumbag Lee Sin comes in to steal it.
No, he picks it up with that last Sonic Wave. Trashy's now on the way to the edge of his Nexus with a undoubtedly good game, well played as the surrender vote goes through. But Property, they were patient, they were slow, they knew they had the advantage from that Dragon fight, and they picked up 4-0 on their trades. A lot of those kills went on to Vayne. You can see she ended at 8-1 and